Hey, Samuel, Leeds here. Happy Sunday evening. I always like on a Sunday night to just sit down and answer on YouTube as many questions as I possibly can. I get some really cool questions on YouTube and sometimes I can't type the answer because it just needs me to explain. So, Hello People 191998 says, Hi Samuel, how do you find rent-to-rent properties? It's a great question. We know what rent-to-rent properties are because I talk about them a lot on YouTube, but how do you find them? So when you're finding a rent-to-rent property, I think most people's problem is that they try and go through an agent. If you try and go through an agent, they're pretty much always going to say, no, we don't do that. I don't understand that. There's a saying that says, if you confuse them, you lose them. And agents just get confused. They feel threatened. So getting a rent-to-rent through an estate agent or through a letting agent is pretty challenging. It can be done, but it's pretty challenging. So the best way to get a rent-to-rent is to go to a landlord direct. There are websites specifically designed for landlords to advertise their properties themselves. If you go on openrent.co.uk, you can go direct and you can message the landlord direct. Gumtree, there's loads of properties on for rent and for sale on Gumtree where you can go direct to the landlord. Spare Room, I go on spareroom.co.uk and just text the landlords and say, hey, if you're struggling to rent out your rooms and you'd like a guaranteed rent, or if you're looking to sell, drop me a text back, we can have a chat. That's one of the ways that I find rent-to-rent. So just go direct to landlords, text them, call them, message them, email them, however you want to get hold of them, call them through sites like that. Another way is I go networking, so I'll go out and do property networking events and say, hey, if anyone's struggling to rent out their property, or if anyone's stuck or got an issue with property, I'd love to help. I am your property problem solver. And then all these people that have problems, you're going to solve their problem. Now you might be thinking, well, if they've got problems, why would you want to take on those problems? Well, the point is, that's what business is. Business is adding value. It's finding someone that's got a problem and then solving that problem because you've got a skill that they haven't. That skill might be you know how to rent it out on Airbnb and they don't. You know how to find and manage tenants better than they do and they're stuck. So hope that's helpful. Hello people. Next question is from Nikash Ali. Hi Samuel, I'm currently an accounting and finance student taking my final year exams. A couple of weeks left until my final exams. What tips would you give a student just finishing from university who's interested in becoming financially free? I think you've got to decide really. Like I get a lot of people messaging me that are 15, 16, 18, 21 and they're studying. You've just got to decide what your main focus is right now. Is your main focus studying or is your main focus becoming financially free? I mean, I wouldn't want to say to anybody, stop studying and quit school to become financially free because you've got your rest of your life to do property. What I personally did was I quit my job when I was 16 and I became financially free. And then when I was 20, I went to college and I spent 3 years at college. I went to Bible college and I was able to really focus because I was getting a nice income from my properties. It's like the other way around. Most people study, work hard to get a job and then they get a job and then think, oh, this sucks, I want to become financially free. Whereas what I did was became financially free first and then studied, not to get a job, but for my own enjoyment. I mean, you could work on your exams and study and do all that, and then in your spare time, just almost as a hobby, learn about property, go to some property network meetings, attend some viewings, and do it as a hobby alongside your studies. You could wait and finish your studies and then start property, or you could say, you know what, stuff it. Why am I studying so that I can one day get a job when I don't want a job? It's completely nuts. I don't want to do this anymore. I do think what's interesting is when you're a kid or a young adult and you're studying, you spend so much time and effort and many hours go into studying. If someone put that same amount of effort into studying about becoming financially free, imagine what would happen. But instead, people spend that time studying chemistry and then they end up going and working at McDonald's. Like, you don't need to know about chemistry. I mean, geez, it's crazy. But I can't tell you what to do. It depends on what your goals are. Me talking, my opinion would be forget everything, study, educate myself about property, becoming financially free, study about money, study business, and then implement it, become wealthy, and then just do what I want. That's me. So anyway, hope that helps. Nikash Ali. On you Shin. Okay, on you Shin, cool. Hi Samuel, what hardships did you face as a Christian entrepreneur that other people may not have faced? Also, are there any particular Bible verses that have helped you throughout your journey? Many thanks. On you, yeah, I did actually. I became a Christian when I was 16, very involved in my church, and when I bought my first house, it was all good, but as I started to become more successful and I started to buy more houses, I was misunderstood. My church were like, okay, you've got enough houses now. There was a concept that if you earn more than you need, then that's greed. Whereas I think that if you have the ability to earn more than you need and then help others, but you don't because of laziness, fear, or apathy, then that's selfishness. You know, that's my thought process. What Bible verses? The parable of the talents. God gave people talents. Some of them buried the talents and they were rebuked for being lazy. Some of them used the talents and God gave them more talents. So I'll check out the parable of the talents. If you've got a God-given brain to make money, to do something, you got to use that. If you don't use it, this is practical as well, whether you're a Christian or not. If you're given a gift, if you don't use it, then you lose it. Also, oh man, there's absolutely loads. I wrote a whole book. When I went to college, I said Bible college. It was because of this. It was because I wanted to study ethics, morals, of being a good person, but also being a business person and making good money. And I grappled with all this, and I wrote a whole book, and my book's called Do the Possible, Watch God Do the Impossible. Did my dissertation on biblical economics. So there's a whole ton of verses I can tell you, but I'd recommend reading the book. It's on Amazon. I mean, ultimately, when it comes to being a business person, if you're religious or if you've got a strong faith and you're thinking, oh, should I be doing this? Here's what I'll say. It's not about what you have, it's about what has you. Money is a fantastic servant, but a terrible master. So make as much money as you can, but do it with open hands and a generous heart, and do it ethically. Amazing Interest Stuff says how to purchase houses with a mortgage when many mortgage providers require 1 year landlord's experience. Okay, so I'm not qualified to give mortgage advice, but what I would say is a couple things. Firstly, make sure that you get a mortgage broker who's really good because a bank could say to you, no, we can't lend. Some people say to me, I can't get a mortgage. I'm like, how do you know? Because I went to Santander and they said, no, that's just one lender. A mortgage broker has access to hundreds of lenders. They'll look at your situation. It might be that you're young, you've got a bit of bad credit, a bit of an issue, so some banks wouldn't like that. It'd be a bit like if you're getting car insurance. If you wanted to get car insurance, you could just Google car insurance person and you could ring up a Vivo or insurance company and you could say, can I get insurance? And they might say, we can't insure you, sorry. And you go, oh, I can't get insurance. Or you go to compare the market. And then there's hundreds that come up and then you find the best and the cheapest. A mortgage broker is just the exact same. So what I would say is speak to a broker, tell them your situation, let them try and find you a mortgage. If they give you bad news, like, oh, you can't get a mortgage that you want just yet, you want to get a HMO but you can't because what they're saying is because you're young and you don't own any houses, you don't own anything, really you need a 1 year buy-to-let experience. Then just buy a buy-to-let house. Just do what you can do. And then in a year's time, then get a HMO. Oh, but I want a HMO now. Well, be patient. Your property business is your whole life. Sometimes people think, I want it now. Just relax. Just do what you can. Plan your life. In that year, study property. Get a buy-to-let property or get a mortgage host or do a joint venture. And then that way you can do anything regardless. If you can't get a mortgage and you're bankrupt and you've got CCJs, it doesn't matter because you can get a mortgage host and do it together. So there's a whole ton of ways, but just get good advice. Okay, one more question from Mitushan. Man, this is challenging. Mitushan Feather Manokaran. Pretty great name. Hi Samuel, I have a question for you. How you close a lease option agreement or rent to rent in a city such as London where there's a lack of motivated sellers. Okay, rent to rent and lease options are very different. It's the same, but a lease option, you buy it at the end. And also a lease option, you're not so bothered about the monthly cash flow because you're gonna own it, so you're getting any appreciation. Rent to rent is all about the cash flow because you're not buying the property. So they're quite different. I would love to have a look around in different areas of England. However, I'm 16, thus limited to London. So Samuel, do you know any areas within London where strategies you teach would prove effective? For lease option agreement, do I need to have a registered company? When I did the Financial Freedom Challenge in America and I started in New York, I quickly realized that New York, for my strategy, wasn't gonna work. I had no money. Trying to find motivated sellers to secure their properties on a lease option agreement in New York wasn't gonna work. So I had to move an hour and a half down. I ended up going to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, that sort of area, and I did a deal. So in London, if you've got no money and you're trying to find someone to give you their house for free on the basis that you'll buy it later for the price that it's worth now, it could be tough because London has had a massive expansion. I know it's been a bit static and it's even dipped a little bit the last couple of years, but from 2011 to 2016, a lot of property prices in London doubled. There's massive expansion, so prices went really high. Now they're probably going to be a little dip in London. So trying to find a property, it's going to be tough because for lease option agreements, you want to go somewhere where houses have bottomed out, whereby there's been a big drop and there's going to be a big up. I wouldn't even recommend doing a lease option in London because if there's a house in London worth £500,000 and you say, I'll buy it for £500,000 in 5 years, in 5 years, I think it will have dropped. You won't make any capital appreciation. I don't think in the next few years, London's going to go up. I'd be looking at different areas and you say, oh, I can't because I'm 16. If you're 16, I'd be looking to do a lease option agreement in a different area where there's negative equity, there's motivated sellers, but just do it over the phone. You don't have to go to the house. In fact, if you did go to the house, I don't know your situation, but if you're 16, you probably haven't got any experience. You don't know what to look for in a house anyway, so you're not going to be any use anyway. So you just do all the work over the phone, secure the deal, and then prior to the completion on the lease option agreement, just get a survey on the house. You don't have to go there, man. I hope that's kind of opened your mind up a little bit. Anyway, some great questions. I always enjoy reading these and answering as many as I can. So we're going to be doing the same thing next week on Sunday at 7 p.m. If you have got a question for me, a niggling property question, comment below and maybe I'll read your question out next week. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, share the love, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.